Yo, what it do? It's your boy J Lou, and I appreciate all y'all support me on these videos. I'm about to put this bad boy on and show y'all how I cut my hair. But yeah, stay tuned, cause it's about to go down. So yeah, I just grabbed my clippers. I'm about to be using a 2 guard today. The reason why I'm gonna use a 2 is because I'm gonna cut a 2.5 all around my head. In order to do that, you wanna make sure that you push the lever. Right now my guards are closed, but you wanna make sure you push the lever back, you know. So by doing this, you open the guard up and it makes it a 2.5. And that's basically what I'm gonna cut today. I typically go all even with a 2.5 just because that's the lowest I go on my crown. So I'm gonna start in my crown area. Some people tend to think this is a bald spot, but you wanna start in your crown and then cut the same way you brush. We call this cutting your pattern as well as brushing your pattern. But since I'm cutting my hair, I'm gonna be cutting my pattern. Now I know some of you all may be wondering, man, like I'm scared to cut my hair, you know, what if I cut too low? When you have a guard on, you can't cut lower than what the guard is set at, you know. So for my clippers, I have to hold the level arm in order for the guard to stay at a 2.5. If I don't do that, then it's gonna go lower and it's not gonna cut the way I want to. So like what I'm basically saying is I have to hold this button while I'm cutting. Now, some clippers that you buy, once you set the guard open, it locks and it stays in that position. But when I first started cutting my hair, I was in high school. I bought some cheap clippers from Walgreens. I think they were like 40 bucks, maybe even 30. You know, they've been holding me ever since I've been in high school. And this is just something I have to do. I have to make sure I hold the lever arm to make sure that it stays at 2.5. But yeah, don't be afraid, because when you cut your hair, it won't go lower than the guard is. You just gotta make sure that the guard stays on there. Now I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna start cutting the front. One thing I like about cutting the front of your hair is, as you all noticed, I don't have the mirror anymore. When I'm cutting the back, I have to use 2 mirrors in order for me to see where I'm cutting. But when you're cutting the front, you can look in your big mirror and see exactly where you're cutting. Something else worth mentioning, if your hair is not sticking up, then the guards won't cut, you know. So sometimes when I'm trying to cut my hair, what I'll do is I'll have to use a comb. So I prefer to go with a wide tooth comb, you know what I'm saying? It helps to tangle my hair, and it also helps create a little bit of frizz that helps stick my hair up, you know. And what I'll do is I have this method where I'll just comb and cut, comb and cut, comb and cut, comb and cut. This is easy to do when you cut in the front of your hair. Now, I can't do it in the back just because nobody on this earth has 3 hands. I've never seen it, you know what I'm saying? Y'all probably have seen a video or something like that. It's probably Photoshop. But yeah, man, like I do this for the front. For the back, if you have the muscle memory, you know what I'm saying? Because like I say, if you're brushing your hair a lot, you should know where exactly you're cutting. You can do the back, but I just try not to. I try to avoid it. At this moment, I also take my glasses off just because of the fact that my glasses tend to block my sideburns. Just kind of how I mentioned in my edge up video. If you didn't watch it, take the time to watch it. It's definitely informative. But yeah, I just take my glasses off and I just do the same thing. Since the guard is on there, I don't have to worry about it. I can just go at it and cut the same way I brush, and then get rid of all that extra stuff. Yeah, so once I'm done cutting my hair, I'm gonna grab that same comb, and they call this portion of the comb the teaser part. You know, so what it does is It helps pick your hair up a lot more than just detangling your hair. And since I'm cutting it all even, I want to be able to see if there's any part of my hair that I need to go back over with the guard, you know, because sometimes you may have missed a spot or you didn't overlap it. Typically when I cut my hair, I try to cover it 2 times around just so I can hit everything. But if I don't, I'll do this portion where I just try to comb it and make sure everything is cut the way I want it to. Yo, so the next thing I'm about to do is what we call a freehand trim. This is something that if you're growing your hair out, you may want to go to the barber, you know what I'm saying, get a lineup and a trim. So for me, you can close the guard, but I keep the guard open, as you just noticed. And what you want to do is basically trace the outline of your hair. Now I must give a disclaimer. This is not something for beginners. If you just start cutting your hair, do not try this. Let me say that again. If you just start cutting your hair, do not try this. I've been cutting my hair for some years. I got used to it. You know, you got to develop steady hands. Make sure you take your time. When I'm cutting my hair, what I try to do is as you can see, I'm like kind of leaning my head back and letting the clippers cut rather than going with the clippers. And one of the reasons why is because I'm trying to see that angle of where my hair is sticking up that it needs to be trimmed down. You know, so that's one of the reasons why it's not easy, because if you don't get the angle right when you're cutting, you'll cut your hair lower, you'll cut a patch in your head. And if you don't believe me, funny true life story. One time I was cutting my hair in the garage. I had just got my clippers. I live in Texas, so it get really, really, really hot during the summertime. And since I was rushing, I didn't realize that by not cutting your hair in a cool, dry climate, like I do in the restroom, you start sweating and everything like that, and the sweat makes it easier for the guards to fall off. So I'm cutting my hair, I'm going to the back like I'm about to do right now, and the first time I cut, the guard had fell off, but I didn't know. So I'm like, man, these clippers feel sharper than what they usually are. I look in the mirror that I'm using, I'm like, man, where the heck the guard at? I go in the house, look in the back mirror, I got a huge patch in my head, man. So take my word for it. Either take your time or don't do it at all. Alright, so moving on to the next clip, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit for you guys. The reason why you do a freehand trim is because, as you can see, you only want to cut the hair that is sticking up barely. You know, when you have waves are simply curls laid down. So when you cut your waves with the guard, sometimes it doesn't, like, you have hairs that's like stuck in your waves. So that's the reason why after I cut, I always comb, because I want to stick those hairs up in my head to be able to cut them down with a freehand trim. If you don't do a freehand trim, you can always just put your do-rag on, lay your hair down, and be good. But for me, sometimes what I always want to do is, if I brush and comb and I don't want to put my do-rag on for my hair to still look even, I do a freehand trim, and it helps out a lot. But like I said, this is something that's optional. You really don't have to do it unless you want to. So once you're done, you always look in the mirror, make sure that you're looking good, you know what I'm saying? I typically brush after just to make sure everything is looking good. But the next part, you want to make sure you clean up your guards, you know what I'm saying? Grab a brush that you don't care about. As you can see, I use this cheap brush strokes brush that I got from Sally's, just to brush off my clippers to make sure there's no hair stuck in. I open the lever, I close the lever, and make sure I just get all the hair off of that. I also use Andy's Cool Care and try to make sure I disinfect my blades. But as you can see right now, I'm also brushing my guards. You want to make sure there's no hair. That's just nasty, leaving hair around and everything like that. So that leads into the next step. You always want to grab a broom and sweep up any hairs that where you cut, or even vacuum. And you also want to clean the sink up, you know what I'm saying? Nobody likes coming home to a sink that has dirty hair in it, you know? So like I always say, cleanliness is next to godliness, you know what I'm saying? Get that dirt off your shoulder. But yeah, it's your boy J. Lou, and I'm signing off. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Make sure you leave a like, comment. But yeah.